We are in the midst of a very important time in the Jewish calendar. It is a month known as Elul, which for really centuries has been a pivotal month for Jews. It is a time in the year where they start introspecting, they take into account everything that happened over the last year, they make resolutions, goals for the upcoming year. To capture it, really, I think it's a time for improvement. It's where Jews focus on improving their ways. And this is all because at the end of this month is Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the new year. Beginning of the new year, which is also the day, Rosh Hashanah, a day of din, a day of judgment, and where everything that's going to happen in that next year is determined. I think there are two psukim in this week's Parsha that can assist us in making this Elul a success. Making this Elul what it's supposed to be. The pasuk, the Parsha, speaks about a mitzvah called Shiluach HaKen, which I will speak of very superficially. And it's basically, if you are going to take the eggs from the nest, you have to shoo away the mother first. You should not do it while the mother is present. And that is a mitzvah. But what's interesting is that that mitzvah is then followed by another pasuk, which speaks about another mitzvah, dealing with building a house. When you build a house, you should make sure to put a railing around the roof in order to prevent anybody from falling and possibly, being severely wounded. And then following that, there's another mitzvah dealing with the field. How one should grow a field. You have to make sure that you do not have kilayim, a certain mixture of crops. You cannot grow together. Okay? This principle of kilayim, of having these forbidden mixtures, applies to our fields. It also applies to our clothes. And that's the next mitzvah. You should not wear wool and linen together. You have to be careful of shatnez. Rashi points out here that this is really a manifestation of the principle of mitzvah goreres mitzvah. That one mitzvah leads you to another mitzvah. There's a momentum in the performance of mitzvahs that we may not have realized. We might have thought that each act is a separate act and not connected with each one is not connected. But Rashi is saying here that all of these mitzvahs were juxtaposed, put into this sequence to tell us that you're going to do the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen, well, then you're soon going to find yourself doing another mitzvah. And you're going to be putting a railing on your roof, which will lead you to another mitzvah of keeping your field basically kosher, not falling into a violation of kilayim, of the forbidden mixture. That will lead you to the mitzvah of not wearing shatnez. There's a momentum in doing mitzvahs, in the act of doing a mitzvah. We find this in the positive, as we just highlighted. We also find this in the negative. Because the Torah, just right after this, speaks about a man who takes for himself a wife as a woman. He ends up not liking her, hating her actually, which in itself is an avera, a sin. And what does he do right after that? He speaks lashon hara about her. He starts painting a negative picture of her. Okay? That led him to, he hated her first, now he's into another mitzvah. We see also in the negative, right? Negative actions also have this momentum. Right? An increasing momentum. You put yourself on the negative path, you will find yourself doing more negative actions. Why is this so fundamental to Elul? Because in Elul, we want to be putting ourselves into a good position. Now is the time where we should start harnessing the good actions for the cause of self-improvement. But we find something here. We want to improve and continue improving. We want to make a aliyah in ruchnius, in our spirituality. We want to ascend. But we're finding here in this week's parsha that it's possible to get up and stay up. Where normal earthly gravity, right, would say what goes up must come down. Well, the Torah says that there's a spiritual momentum which can say what goes up must stay up. What goes up can stay up, and it can keep going. How do we do this? And I'm not speaking for beginners. I think this is a key that can help anybody. We want to improve. We want to change for the better. Do little things. Little, minute actions. I'm not talking about building a house, going out on a walk in the forest looking for a nest. You don't have to do that. Start with a little, minute action. It could be giving 1 shekel a day to tzedakah. A shekel, 25 cents to charity a day. It's not a lot of money. But that action, over a period of time, if somebody were to do that for a year, that's 365 acts of chesed, of kindness. 365 acts of tzedakah. That's not a small accomplishment. Little things. The way we say our brachas, the way we say a blessing before we eat something. Do we think about it for a second before we contemplate it? Or do we before we eat it? Contemplate for a second about what you're going to do. 1 second. Just pause. Or slow your bracha down. Make it 2 seconds longer than you usually say it. These are all things that can dramatically improve one's performance of mitzvahs. And these are all things which has a dramatic of the change that they can affect. If you realize, you think about it, you're not being asked to do much. A second here, a second there. Getting to davening, to tefillas, coming to shul a few minutes earlier, so you can say your psukei de zimra properly and not have to cut it out. It takes a few minutes. It can dramatically change one for the better. But the idea here, which is something tremendously powerful, is mitzvah goreres mitzvah. One can get up and stay up. I wish everybody a tremendously successful Chodesh Elul. Amen.